Welcome to episode 8 of Local Perspectives. I'm thrilled to introduce a singer-songwriter who you may have already seen perform at the likes of Casa Divino and Colonial Oak. She was voted Best Female Vocalist by Folio Weekly in both 2019 and 2020. Today, St. Augustine's own Jolie joins me to talk about navigating insecurity, the ability to be both an introvert and a performer, and she shares some lyrical insights. Thanks for stopping by. Take a breather and stay tuned for this local perspective. Jolie, welcome. So glad you're here. Here at a distance. um, so I'm really excited to have you as a guest. I've been able to see you perform several times over the years, and you were my very first guest blogger, so that was like super cool
That
of
was
you.
so much fun. I love doing that.
Yeah, to volunteer to do that. So we got to hear a lot about your background through that, which was awesome. And so today I just wanted to pick your brain about some more recent developments in your career and in your life. But I I've become known for doing these little improv games at the start of these sessions, and I think you are the perfect guest to do something called musical hotspot with. And I Yeah, this should be fun. So it's very spontaneous, and the way the way it works is it's much easier to do in person because you signal the person by tapping their shoulder usually. But if this were done in a theater, we'd be standing in a circle, and the person singing would be in the middle, and they would just like sing whatever random song they wanted, and invariably the lyrics to one song will make someone in the circle think of another song, so that person would immediately tap them and then start the next one. So. Uh, for the sake of Zoom, we're gonna have to just interrupt each other, which is like which is what always happens on Zoom anyway.
Mhm.
Um, so if you would like to do the honors and start any song you want, and I will attempt to be brave and hop in, and we'll just go back and forth for a few rounds, and I think that's a great way to get us warmed up for our chat.
Okay. A new song. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay, I got one. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Fix your broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arrive.
Oh gosh. Here comes the sun. Doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright.
You'll find us chasing the sun.
Oh yeah.
Only just begun. You can ride drums. Mm-mm-mm. You'll find us chasing the sun. You thought this day wouldn't come. We began to run. It helps if I knew the words.
That's
You'll
the
find
problem.
us
Like I know
chasing.
these songs. I'm like, I don't remember the words though. I'm stumped. I literally can't.
That's okay. I thought of another one that I've heard you perform a few times. When you cried, I'd wipe away all of your tears. When you'd scream, I'd fight away all of your fears. And I held your hand through all of these years, but you still.
I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand. Another Beatles song.
Can't go wrong with Beatles.
Oh please, tell me something. I think you'll understand. Oh please, say to me, you'll let me hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand.
Hold on if you feel like letting go. Hold on, it gets better than you know. Don't stop hoping it's not over. Hold on.
I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broken till I saw your face. I wanna get better, 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 better.
That's when you gave me a call. I feel better, better, better than before. I feel better, better. I'm not down anymore.
Sometimes in the middle of the night I can feel you again. 'Cause I miss you and I wish you were a better man. Oh, that's so
Nice. Thank you so much for humoring me. That was so much fun.
bad.
Improvisational singing.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like it requires a little bit of like being unable to focus, right? Because it's like the one song like automatically makes you think of another one.
yeah,
It's
no,
it's
exactly.
definitely meant to be done in person, but I was like, I'm gonna just, give it a shot.
You made it work.
It'll work. Do it remotely.
Yeah.
But again, I'm really happy to have you. I'm so excited that we get to have this little chat. Um, I just want to go back to the fall of 2019. What an idyllic time now, looking back. Like, who knew what was on the horizon? But anyway, you did your EP release party at the Parlor Room. I Can Only Be Me. Really nice, intimate setting. A lot of friends and family there. A lot of just like supporters and fans from over time. So that was like a really nice culminating moment. How did it feel to share your own personal writings and your own music with St. Augustine in person like that?
It was, I knew like going into it that it would kind of be like life changing, but like actually performing and seeing my songs and seeing people's reactions and stuff, it like blew me away. And it kind of, because I've never really had a concert where I've sung mainly original music before that concert. And um, it really made me just want to do it again, like immediately. Kind of, and I've always known that I want to, that's what I want to do, release original music and eventually just make a living off of performing my original music. But after that performance in particular, I was like, I was sold. I was like, yeah, this needs to happen some way, somehow.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's like being afraid to get on a roller coaster. You're terrified, you do it, and you have so much fun. You're like, I want to get back in line and go again.
That was
Yeah.
that was worth it.
Awesome. Um, I remember that night really well. I remember you introducing one of your songs with a little bit of a comment on um, teenage insecurity and kind of how difficult it is to navigate those years. Not that long ago, were in high school, navigating some of those like tricky times in life. And it made me think too of something that you said about yourself, that you are someone who identifies as an introvert.
Yeah.
So, what would you say, maybe to somebody who's kind of navigating those challenging years and coming into their own, um, especially as like a shyer person? Do you have any like advice from the other side?
Yeah, actually, it's
That's
funny you ask because I literally had someone ask me that last weekend because they had a daughter who was just like me, was super shy and everything. And she asked me if someone had told me something along the way that kind of like shifted my perspective. And actually, when I was about 14, um, I was in like a local, it was called Arts Alive. It was in St. Augustine actually. And one of the judges was like a producer who I ended up working with and recording a few songs with. But I hadn't written songs up to that point, and I was kind of scared to for some reason. And just performing was really scary for me still. And he sat me down. He told me, it sounds kind of funny, but he told me to fake it till you make it, which not like to be fake, but like when you're on stage, you kind of have to, I mean, you're entertaining, you know, you have to kind of
Hmm.
step outside yourself and not pretend to be someone else, but like just fake it till you make it, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
Today I'm gonna be talkative and I'm gonna put on a show. You just kind of have to figure it out. And obviously, practice makes perfect. I was so terrible at it when I first started. But I've definitely gotten better and I've worked on that. So,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I would say.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think sometimes even if we don't feel confident or if we don't feel like we're good at what we're doing, we kind of have to pretend that we're confident,
Uh,
and it comes across. It's interesting how you'll get feedback from people like, "Oh, you did such a great job on this," like whether it's like a public speaking thing or any kind of performative thing, and you look so comfortable, you look so natural, and you're like, "Wow, I wish you could have felt my heart pounding in my
yeah.
chest." But I'm glad that I looked calm. Yeah, so I appreciate that. And so, yeah, so that kind of leads me to another question, and I think you touched on it a little bit in your answer that what is it like being an introverted person by nature and yet making a living as a performer? Do you think that mentality of kind of, I don't know if you'd call it code switching or just acting maybe, where you have to somehow find that part of yourself that's in there somewhere that can handle the vulnerability in front of a crowd? Is it difficult to switch between those, like, because you are very soft spoken and like, um, it's really endearing. Like you have a very sweet, calm nature about you. But then, you switch to the keyboard and the microphone, and then you belt out these beautiful notes. What is that like to switch back and forth like that?
um, like I said, it was definitely really hard in the beginning when I first started doing like big gigs like that. And I've had so many people tell me like it's so funny, like you're singing these big songs, then like when you're finished, you're like, thank you guys. Like it's just how I am, you know, like and uh, like for me, singing, the talking part is what I have a hard time with still, but
Hmm.
like the singing part, it just for me, it's just like feels so natural. Like it's just what I love to do, and I mean, I've always loved to sing, and it's kind of second nature to be singing. Talking part, it's definitely challenging, but I think it's important to put yourself outside of your comfort zone. So
Yeah,
otherwise, you
well
wouldn't
said.
grow.
That's true. Yeah, they say if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. So that's a good mantra. Um, So yeah, so I'm also thinking of what it was like for you growing up. You've talked about how the support of your family has been everything, in your development, and I'm so happy that you had supportive parents and people around you. Um, do you have a message to parents of kids that are leaning in that direction of music or the arts? There's a natural worry there because the world our parents grew up in, played by a different set of rules. It kind of doesn't exist anymore. But now that the music industry has become so democratized with the internet, you can kind of have a better shot, at making it as a musician. Is there anything that you'd want to say to the parents of kids who want to pursue music?
Yeah, something that I think my dad in particular had to figure out is like he could want it for me all that he wanted. Like he could want me to be a musician, but at the end of the day, like I have to want it. You know what I mean? Like he could push me as much as he wanted, but um, at the end of the day, that was like my choice. And I remember he was just like, it, he was pushing me so much, and he was like, he believed in me so much, and I didn't really believe in myself yet at that point, and he realized that. Um, I mean, it comes to the point where if I really wanted it, I would have to just start believing in myself and pushing myself in that way. And so I think like it's important for parents to like be there and be supportive and guide them and push them, but don't like force them. You know what I mean? Because then
Hmm.
it'll feel like kind of like a sour taste in your mouth. It doesn't seem as endearing as it used to. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, those are good points. I'm really glad to hear that you had that kind of like cheerleader in your corner, kind of helping you to see maybe what you couldn't see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm sure that helped a lot. So you've also mentioned that you find songwriting to be easier than journaling, and I I found that really interesting. I'm a big journaler. Like I've been journaling since probably 2004 fairly consistently. But I've always been very intimidated by songwriting, even though I play music. But the idea of writing my own music, I don't know. I just don't even. I barely try. I've never really tried to do it. So maybe speak to that, like in your personal case. Um, what is it about the songwriting process that kind of just flows for you?
I don't know if it's like the melody or what, but for me, like journaling just was, my hand would start hurting after a while. I'd be like, I don't know about this anymore. But even
Hmm.
with like songwriting, like I'll have like one side of the page, I'll like write all my thoughts about like what I wanted to portray in the song. And then on the right side, I'll like kind of like pick my favorite phrases that I wrote down and whether I have to like reword them or reorganize them to make it make sense in the song. I like when songs like there's just a few lines that just hit home and it just explains everything. Like I love songs like that rather than like journaling where I mean I used to journal and you have to like you write for days and days, and not that there's anything wrong with journaling. I think it's a really beautiful way to express yourself too. But for me, I just find like a few lines, simple words, just kind of like explain everything for me, and it hits different.
Yeah, I like getting a little glimpse into your process, how you talked about having maybe two columns and you can kind of like take one line that you really like that kind of has a nice punch to it. But yeah, when the dots connect and everything comes full circle in a song, it's just really rewarding. And when it goes with a melody, it's easy to memorize, which is nice.
Mhm.
Um, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like to hear about like it seems like you kind of almost mind map it, which is really cool.
For sure.
So you had mentioned the Arts Alive competition earlier. I did actually want to ask you about that. So as a winner, you had studio time with the St. Augustine producer. I'm trying to imagine what it was like for you. It must have been exciting. Like, what was it like to be still in school, but to get to like hurry after school and go to the studio and record at that young of an age?
That was a lot of fun. I actually won. That was probably when I was like 14 or 15, and then I didn't actually use the studio time till I was because obviously I hadn't written songs. Then I was like, well, I need like a few years to like, get used to writing songs, and so I didn't start recording with him till like high school, and I don't know, it felt cool. It felt like I was living like a double life in a way. Like I go to school and then right after I go to the studio, and yeah, I think back then, looking back, I feel like I was pretty naive to like the music scene. I think that's normal when you're so young and but it's a lot harder than people realize. Like you can record songs, it just depends on who hears it or like who picks it up, and who plays it. And um, just because you record something doesn't mean it's gonna take off exactly, but
Mhm.
depends on what you do behind the scenes, I think.
Yeah, yeah, there's so much that goes into it that I think most people take for granted.
Yeah,
Um,
for
yeah, but I'm glad you stuck with it for the long haul because it's definitely paying off.
sure. Me too.
Um, So yeah, that's so funny. It was like, yeah, you have like this secret identity in the afternoon of like, yeah, I'm here with like my books and just like going through the hall and going to my locker, but when the bell rings, I get to be a singer-songwriter. That's pretty cool. You had
I
something to.
remember I released like two singles from that like recording time. Um, I didn't tell anyone at school. I didn't really have like a whole lot of friends anyways because I was very shy. I had like two friends. And so obviously I didn't tell like everyone at school that I had all these songs. But somehow it like caught wind at school, and I remember Mr. Dodd, the chorus teacher, he like showed it to the principal at like the teacher meeting in the morning, and somehow like everyone found out about it. I was like, ah, I can't do this. That was crazy.
Oh, that must have been a little overwhelming. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Dodd is such a nice guy. I literally left him a voicemail earlier because my calendar reminded me that there's like a farewell performance this week, and I was like, oh yeah, is that actually today or is it tomorrow? Definitely don't want to miss that because the academy over there, St. Augustine puts out some amazing, talented young musicians, and I think that whole experience speaks to just you as a person because um, it strikes me that you weren't doing it for the notoriety or to be like acknowledged. You kind of kept it private, you know? And so it's not that you wanted like all that attention necessarily, but do you feel like that did anything for your self-confidence when it unexpectedly just kind of, because we have a very well-connected music scene here, so I can see how it would, the producer could say something and someone's like, I know Jolie, and the next thing you know, it's just,
Yeah, like all these little dots connecting. Honestly, it was crazy. Like there's some people who they were in dance and they made dances to it. Oh, I did perform one of those songs live for like one of the dance end of the year dance recitals, and I performed it like this grand piano with this like gorgeous black dress, and yeah, there's just like one of like the top, all the top dancers were dancing to my song, and I was just like, what is happening? Like this is crazy. It definitely boosted my self confidence. At that point, I was just like, no one even knows me or probably likes me, like likes my music, and just like to see that, like you said, unexpectedly kind of spread is wild.
that's awesome. That sounds like a really beautiful moment. What grade were you in when that happened with the dance performance with you accompanying with music?
That was, I believe, 11th grade. I was a junior, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. To have something like that happen at that pivotal of a time in your life is kind of a nice boost. So
yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So we talked a little bit about your songwriting, and I love taking lyrics apart and reading them and studying them. And it's an interesting thing because what a song says to one person can vary based on what the songwriter had in mind. So I
mhm,
always think it's interesting. Everybody has their own way of approaching that. Not everybody likes to put out like an interpretation and then kind of feel like it takes away the meaning from someone personally. But I did want to ask you, one of my favorite songs of yours is Strong.
yeah.
Even the opening words, I didn't say goodbye forever, I said goodbye for now. Um, that conjures a lot of thoughts for me. But in listening to the song in totality, I feel like I pick up on a very clear, distinct theme. But if you don't mind my asking, what uh, what kind of went into those words? I didn't say goodbye forever. I said goodbye for now. What kind of
Oh gosh, it brings back so many memories. There was like a time in my life where everyone, I was kind of the youngest of my friend group, and everyone kind of suddenly just left. You know, I went to school or went on like church missions, and the church I grew up in, they do like 2 year long missions. Like it's a long time, and you don't really contact them very much, including my sister, who I'm like super super close with. We're like best friends growing up, and literally all at once, everyone just left, and I was the only one home, and there's a lot of like I was very very alone, and I had to figure out how to be independent for the first time, which was really scary, and um, yeah, so I guess those words, I didn't say goodbye forever. It's kind of coming from the perspective of all these people who left. Like they're not going to be gone forever. They just said for now, and they will be back. You know, I mean, so. And then the chorus talks about how I kind of go through a transformation, and that's definitely me becoming more independent and finding myself. Um, you know, so yeah, it's a special song for me.
wow, thank you for all that nice context and background. That's very relatable. You know, I think especially over this last year, depending on how each family has chosen to navigate, having like a global health crisis, there are, grandparents that couldn't see their grandkids for a year and stuff, and they're just now starting to be able to hug them again in a lot of cases. And um, I'm a very sentimental person that way. Like I love being with my friends. I really buy into the idea that friends are the family you choose.
Mhm.
And yeah, there are a lot of like farewells, but we know we're going to see each other again. But yeah, that must have been really difficult. But I'm sure it helped you grow, and your your imagery of the flames, there's another line I wanted to ask you about. It kind of made me think of a phoenix, how like you maybe embraced the challenge at some point, and because you could see what it was doing to you, how it was like refining you. In particular, you sing "Flames that kiss her cheeks."
Mm,
What was going through your mind with that line? I think
well,
that's such good imagery. It's like very
yeah,
profound.
during that time, even like before that, I've always kind of, as silly as it sounds, I've always struggled with expressing myself like verbally, not through song, but like more just like talking to people. Um, well, I used to be more troublesome with that. um, and so I don't know. I always used to feel so like indifferent, like numb to like a lot of different emotions, and going through being alone and having to figure out who I was, and um, finding my independence, I was able to kind of unlock that, and where I was able to unlock a lot of emotions. And when I say like flames kiss her cheeks, in my mind, I was meaning like I can feel emotion now. Like when you feel things, a lot of times you blush, or um, whether you get angry and your face gets red or whatever. That's kind of what I was thinking when I wrote that. But I like your interpretation of like the flames, phoenix rising. That's a good way to put it too.
Yeah, I like yours even better. I really do like the intended thing because yeah, I think, you know, that's a really good way to help people to understand what it's like to maybe have a hard time processing or feeling certain emotions,
Yeah.
and how what a rush it must be to like start to feel them for the first time in your life if for
Mhm.
some reason they were not surfacing earlier in life. So I think that's a really I'm even more blown away now than I was than I was before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so perfect. Yeah, because it's true. When we have certain reactions, you can feel your face getting hot. You can feel like your whole body temperature is like increasing, whether you're anxious, you're panicking, you're feeling like butterflies in your stomach because you have like romantic feelings for someone, or you're embarrassed. Like, yeah, all that shows up right here, especially in the cheeks.
Yeah.
Very true. So do you still run into I mean, I'm pretty confident the answer is yes. What has it been like if you were to run into like a former classmate or something, um, now that a little bit of time has gone by in a new context, you're all out of school, you're all adults now. Have you had any interesting interactions with former classmates now that you are in this chapter of your life?
Um, yeah, mostly a lot of kids who were in chorus, and they're kind of doing the same thing that I'm doing. Um it's really cool to see like what they're doing, and like how they progress and what they've decided to do since learning all that we learned from Mr. Dodd and stuff. And um I don't know, it's really cool. And a lot of times I'll like sing at the same concert with them, or there's always some get together where people are, they hire a lot of musicians, and I'll see them be like, oh my gosh, it's you. How are you doing? So yeah, it's cool to see how everyone's grown up and what they've decided to do with their life.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, those kind of coming of age moments are really amazing to get to kind of like grow up together. And um, yeah, like I said before, St. Augustine High School in particular cranks out some amazing young talented musicians, whether it's song, dance, acting. So it'll be really fun to see what this upcoming generation of musicians does on the local scene and beyond that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, I just realized we have to invite a special guest on the scene. We
Yes, we
could not
do.
we could not interview
Special guest.
we could not interview Jolie without interviewing. That does it for part one. Thank you, Jolie, for being a part of this. I look forward to releasing the second installment in the coming weeks, and as you heard, you will get to meet our special guest. Thank you for your viewership. Thank you for your support. Until next time.
I didn't say goodbye forever. I said goodbye for now. 'Cause you don't know how to love me forever. You just know how